John Maher here. It's Friday, 23rd of January 2026, and this is your weekly Grass10 update on the dairy edge. So anyway, unfortunately, from our point of view, it's been kind of a wet week. We also, in Grass10, did a nutrient management week, which I'll come to a little bit later. We have some level of grass measurement, not enough to report yet, but look, I think that'll have to kick off next week. The dry matters that have come back are obviously low at about 14% and could even be lower than that given the way the week has fallen. But anyway, it's only January. But I suppose we just need to, be thinking of the season ahead. The team have put together a kind of a quick pre-grazing checklist. So before things get busy, maybe to establish where the farm is in terms of grass supply. We're hoping for many farms that they will have a farm cover close to 1,000. It's been a reasonably mild winter, but anyway, the figures will tell us more. We need to suppose to think about a spring grazing plan, where we're going to graze, how we're going to kick off. There will be wet days. We need a wet weather plan. Well, effectively, I'm asking there is where will I go on the wet day? You're busy. The weather is reasonable but not hectic. The cows are out. You want to keep going. So a low cover paddock with good access, probably a roadway on two sides, or plenty of access points and exit points. Another twist in this is what paddocks are planned for reseeding, and if you do bump into the wet day and some of your go-to paddocks are gone, could you go there on the wet day because you're going to reseed it anyway in the year ahead and hopefully sometime in April. But just a little bit of planning and thinking, right? It's been a wet week, so slurry spreading has been probably non-existent in many parts of the country. Some parts of the country got low levels of rain, I admit that, but not many. And we all have to start thinking about fertilizer as well, because we've got to boost the grass supply, given the way things are happening. We've big demand on platforms now, faster 6-week calving rates, modern genetics with faster gain and intake. So by the time the 1st of March arrives, there's a massive appetite there for grass. That's just trying to get fertilizer and slurry out to boost the grass growth, which we'll come back to, I suppose, next week when the season is about to open on the fertilizer side. But I suppose now is just before you spread the fertilizer or get slurry out on parts of the farm. Now is a good time to soil sample. If not done so already, we need to know where you are. If you don't have the soil samples done, things like P allowances come under pressure because indexes are assumed. So good time to soil sample and maybe look at, in particular what paddocks need lime, because that's the cheapest form of nitrogen, P, K, even sulfur you will get because lime unlocks it out of the soil. So some people missed the boat on lime last year. There may be an opportunity in February still to come. Even if it's on size ground, that wouldn't concern me. So just think about that. Speaking of, I suppose, spreading slurry, every 1,000 gallons of standard slurry is worth about €30. So, it's a valuable source of nutrients, but we have to be mindful of the ground conditions, which haven't been great. The weather forecast has been poor. I suppose you're trying to target the slurry in the right field at the right time, at the right rate. We have to adhere to buffer zones as well when we're applying. That depends a bit on, your slurry spreading opening date, depending on the part of the country you're in, but just be careful of that. Speaking of slurry, I suppose, we had our nutrient management week in the week gone by. We had a series of podcasts and videos. What I'm going to do now is give you a very quick summary of the farmers' plans for the year. I'll let my SEF and Teagasc colleagues and Grass and Agro colleagues go, but I'll just mention the 3 farmers, which were Mike Carroll from Grannon and Limerick, and he was particularly choosy about the slurry. And I'll just explain very, very quickly. Mike has many different tanks. There's heifers. He has a few cattle as well, and they're getting meal and the best silage, and there's no doubt about it that the best slurry is going to be there. And then if you go to, where the dry cows are, which get the, lower quality silage and no ration, well, their slurry is not going to be as good. And like grass quality does influence P and K content as well. So the quantity of P and K in the dry cow tanks, from however I'm describing it, is going to be lower. The other thing to add is when we get the watery slurry, which Mike is very good at utilizing, the watery slurry traps more nitrogen and dilutes the P and K. Now that's ideal from when we're talking about nutrient distribution on the farm. And you're going to hear a lot more about this because it's built into the nitrate directive regulations as well. So Mike will use the watery slurry, which is going to trap more nitrogen, has lower P and K on the grazing ground. The best slurry then will go to the silage ground, which has, high levels of P and K in it. And there's lots of recycling in grazing ground at P's and K's. There's very little recycling in silage ground. So just to keep that in mind, we move on to John Fox then. John was choosy about where he spread his nitrogen fertilizer. He obviously has a variation of land within the farm. His dry go-to paddocks, they were going to be getting fertilizer in February if all things go according to plan. He's going to get his best response in the reseeds, right? But he was going to avoid the paddocks with the old grass and that were wetter. And, every farm has a variation of paddocks, wet, dry, poor soil fertility, maybe, especially, I suppose, size ground, old grass, wet. So, and these are maybe the more riskier propositions or poor response. So that fertilizer application is about response and risk. And so if we are, poor response, low risk, we're going to get better return from nitrogen fertilizer elsewhere, I suppose. On to Micah Hearn then from Ballyduff in Waterford, I suppose. Mike was really focused on having early grass. Now it's a dry farm, long grazing season. His application of nitrogen fertilizer and slurry were going to be targeted early to boost that grass supply. Big demand on the farm in terms of calving date, calving rate, and stocking rate. So he was going to get most of the farm either get early fertilizer nitrogen application or watery slurry application to get things moving. And look, if you want to listen to these podcasts further, be it the Grass10 team, be it the farmers, the Grass and Agro people, or Farming for Water campaign, podcasts are available through the Dairy Edge, and the videos are also on social media as well, linked to Grass10. So thanks to all the contributors of the Nutrient Management Week, which includes some of my own colleagues, Sean and John from Grass and Agro, and a special thanks to the farmers Michael Carroll and John Fox and Micah Hearn, who, give up their time and share their thoughts on their nutrient management planning for the spring. Look, I hope you all learned something from this. I wish you best of luck in the calving season ahead. If you'd like to hear more from the Grass10 team, subscribe to weekly Grass10 newsletter, which is available on the Grass10 page of the Teagasc public website, and the link to this newsletter is also available in the description of the podcast. We would like to thank the sponsors of the Grass10 campaign, AIB, Grass and Agro, Department of Agriculture, FBD, and the Farmers Journal. This has been your Grass10 update, and I will talk to you next week when we will put some grass figures out to you to see where things are at.